Hi, and welcome to Let's Get Distracted, episode 47. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Better You Blueprint with Brett Eaton. Welcome, Brett.
Thank you, Michelle. It's so good to see you again, and I'm really excited. I love these.
So excited to have you here. First, I'm Michelle Burke, coming to you live from Annapolis, Maryland. Many of you know that after 30 years as a CPA and corporate tax accountant, I went out on my own in January 2020 and created Health and Taxes. There are only two things certain in life, death and taxes. I'm here to help you flip that to health and less taxes. On Sunday nights, I come to you with my show, Let's Get Distracted, to educate you a little bit on health and wellness. And tonight, we're going to be talking about the Better You Blueprint, reminding you, if you've already forgotten your January goals, what those might be, how you can be held a little more accountable, and some tips on what you should be doing. So let me introduce you to Brett Eaton. Many of you know he was on the show in the fall, and we're fortunate to have him back again. But Brett is a life optimization coach who helps his clients enhance their strengths while getting crystal clear on the areas of their life they would like to up-level. With increased accountability and a blueprint for success, Brett knows exactly how to get you from wishing, wanting, and waiting to following through with daily commitments, reaching goals, and creating a happy and fulfilling life. The next round of Brett's 90-day coaching program, the Better You Blueprint, begins in April, so stay tuned. So Brett, happy to have you here tonight, and tell our audience a little bit more about how you got into life coaching.
Yeah, so I am a former personal trainer. So like the fitness industry is where I kind of started my way. Personal trained for years, was a fitness manager of a gym for 8 years, and had this realization that I liked it, but I didn't love it. And the part that was missing was the fulfillment and the opportunity to reach more people. I knew that being a personal trainer was changing lives, and I knew that I was helping people, make major impact. But I had this realization, I was like, well, how do I get more than just 10 to 12 people on my schedule? How can I impact 20? How can I impact 50, 100? How can I make a bigger impact and do it in a way where it's not just physical, but we can tie all these pieces around that we would talk about during a personal training session, but how can I really hold them accountable outside of the gym more? And the personal training profession just didn't allow that. So it was like, okay, so I got to get creative. Let's go figure out what that looks like, how that becomes. And I stumbled upon life coaching, and I was like, this is it. This is exactly what I love to do. It fires me up, and I get to have a little bit more of a holistic approach to people's wellness and help them in some of these other areas of life that I'm really passionate about also.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. And you're right. It's just maybe one aspect, seeing them in the gym, but now when you can do that more holistic approach, you can maybe really enrich their lives in other ways. And that's always so rewarding. So certainly yes. Understand that. So tell us a little bit. So I know if a lot of our listeners out there probably have already forgotten their January resolutions, what they said were the goals. And a lot of that is because they're just not accountable, right? So
yes,
start us off a little bit talking about goals and goal setting and what people should be thinking about now that it's the end of January, the beginning of March.
Yeah, so I feel like at this point in time, people are going to fall into three categories. One, like you're crushing it. You're doing it. This is the year you made all the changes and you're just running with it and you're doing awesome. High five. Keep up the good work. Keep finding ways to inspire yourself. Keep staying motivated. Some people have completely forgot what they even decided in January. They're like, I had some goals. I don't know where they are, and I can't remember what they are, but I'll probably get back to those December 31st and January of next year. And then there's some people who know what their goal is. They started off with great momentum, but all of a sudden it's starting to get a little harder. It's starting to get a little colder, a little darker, and it's just a little bit, they're finding themselves not having the same momentum as they started. So I really want to talk to those last two groups. And for those two people, it starts off with a lot of people when they set a goal, they just focus on the goal and they kind of clap their hands and they're like, good, we're done. A goal is really, there's 3 layers to a goal. And this is going to help people not just in January, not just in February, but for any goal that you ever want to set in your life. The first one is you have to set a crystal clear goal. That's where most people feel like they do a good job, but a lot of people's goal is too vague. And the reason why they don't set it specific enough, it needs to be specific, it needs to be measurable, it needs to be realistic. You know, everybody knows SMART goals. You got to set SMART goals. But if it's not specific enough, what happens is we don't actually know if we're getting closer to it. We don't actually know if we're getting closer to it or going in the right direction, because if we just say get healthier, that doesn't necessarily define what that means. That can mean something completely different for you, Michelle, than it does for me. So we have to have a specific something, and it also has to have a deadline. So I force all of my clients to put a date on it. We may want to lose something by the end of the year, but like, what can we lose in the first 3 months? Okay, if it's weight loss, let's put that. If it's body fat, let's do that. How many workouts do we want to get in a week? How many days can we be consistent? Let's put that down. So it's got to be something specific. The second part is the game changer. That is figuring out why we want this goal. So for everybody out there who knows what their goal is, I'm going to challenge you. Have you taken the time to really sit down and find out why you want this goal? That is the game changer. On our calls, this is the call where we get really close with each other, because I say that because I challenge people to, you have to dig deeper than the superficial why. Get healthier is not deep enough, because it's going to, why? Because it's going to increase my confidence. Why? Because it's going to, we have to go deep and deep and deep. And I push and I push and I push. And then we figure out the real reason why. And the why should make you emotional. It should make you have goosebumps on your arms. It should give you a burning desire in your gut that says, I don't just want this. I actually have to have this. I need to accomplish this, because that's going to get somebody out to go for that walk when it's raining. That's going to get you up when your alarm goes off and it's cold and dark and you don't want to wake up. You have to have a why that's strong enough. That is the difference between continuing to see success and falling off and going back to our old ways. It's the why. It's not the goal. The goal could be really pretty, but it's the reason why you want it that's going to be the difference maker to whether we achieve it or not. So I challenge people to go 5 layers deep. There's an exercise called 5 whys, and you have to go 5 layers deep. And that's the call where when I actually challenge people to go that deep, sometimes they get emotional. And the goal of it is not to make people cry or get emotional. That's not the goal. But the goal is to spark emotion in them. Because get healthier doesn't spark emotion, right? It's just something, it's cute, sounds great, looks good on social media, sounds good at a dinner party, but it's not going to spark the emotion. But if you actually go layer and you say it's going to give me confidence, you're going to go, and then you actually get to the real deep feeling of, it's because I'm not being healthy enough to play with my kids. It's because I'm out of breath. I don't feel like I'm being, if you get to the real thing, it's because I'm sick and tired of buying clothes the size that they are right now. That sparks emotion. That is an emotional attachment to the goal. Now, that's going to be somebody who fights through the challenges, who fights through the hard times and the slumps or the hurdles that come up. And the last part is commitments. We have to have dedicated, strict commitments. It can't just be, I'm going to work out 3 days a week, because what I would tell somebody is I'd ask them some more questions. Okay, what 3 days? Oh, well, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay, what time on Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Well, I guess 7:30 and do this. Okay, well, what are we going to do during that workout? Okay, I'm going to do yoga. I'm going to do my Peloton, and then I'm going to do a walk. So all of these questions that I asked, Michelle, are questions that I want people to have the answer to before the week starts. Because if you have all of those questions answered, you don't have to make decisions day of. And that's what we want to avoid. Making too many decisions the day of. We want to have all of those decisions decided. So now all you got to do is follow up and show up and do the thing. That's all we got to do.
Yeah, that's great. So 3 very specific things, having a specific goal, the more specific, the better. Understanding, peeling those layers down to really understanding your why. And I like that you really challenge people to do that, because you're right. A lot of us are just like, oh, I want to be healthy, or I should lose weight, or I should be thinner. But do we really want to? Are we willing to pay the price? What's it really mean to us? What's it look like if we accomplish that goal, right?
Exactly.
And then and then committing to that. And that's kind of, so give us some tips on that commitment part, that accountability and a commitment part.
Yeah, so commitments have to be black and white. So for instance, the example I just gave of the workout is what you need to do for all goals. It could be as simple as like, I want to read more. Well, reading more, first of all, is not a great goal because it's not specific. It's not measurable. What does that mean? So these are kind of things that sometimes when I tell people, they're like, oh my God, he wants me to be so specific. Like he's asking all these follow-up questions. But what you don't realize is that if it's not black and white, if it's not specific, if I don't really know what you mean, you actually don't know what you mean. So the problem with that is there's confusion going on in our own head about our own goal, which is why we have a hard time getting there because it's not even a specific direction. It's like, just kind of go that way. Well, we're probably not going to get to our destination that way. So you want to make sure that we have specifics. So when it comes to commitments, one, we want to have as many decisions made beforehand. Decision fatigue is a real thing, meaning we make so many decisions between what color shirt, what time am I going to have my coffee, what time am I going to get on my Zoom call, what am I going to have for lunch? There are so many different decisions. Do you know that we make almost 1,800 decisions a day?
Oh, wow.
And over 200 decisions on food alone, which is crazy. So it just goes to show we are making decisions all day, every day. And we want to make sure that we reduce as many of those decisions. So the other part of the commitment is accountability. And a lot of times my clients will be like, well, I just want to hold myself accountable. I just want to create that in myself. And I want them to. We want to get to that point. But I always encourage people to start with external accountability. Start by having other things hold you accountable, meaning a coach, a trainer, a class. I love classes that charge like a cancellation fee. Like you can't cancel last minute, it's going to charge you $15. Like I love those external accountability things. Alarms that go off. All of those things are great things for accountability. So you need to have the external accountability. And I have this saying with my team is you can't out ridiculous me. Meaning you can't have too many alarms. You can't have too many like sticky notes all over the place. If it gets you to the result, it's not ridiculous. To me, it's awesome. You can't out ridiculous me, meaning you won't tell me, Brett, I'm doing it, but it's really ridiculous. You're gonna laugh when you hear how I do it. No, I'm not, because I think it's awesome. Don't be afraid to think outside the box and get a little funny and get ridiculous with how many alarms you set. I always use the example. I changed the alarm on my ringtone to the Lion King back in the day. It was the Lion King like soundtrack. And because it would wake me up and I would smile and I'd laugh and I wouldn't hit the snooze button. And it broke me out of my snooze button habit. Meanwhile, my roommates at the time were like, dude, you got to stop the Lion King. You got to turn that off. And I was like, no, man, it's working. I got to keep it. But at the time, it got me through it. It got me the result that I wanted. So I don't care if you think it's silly. If it works for me, great. I'm going to keep doing it. So I challenge people, don't be afraid to get a little ridiculous.
That's a really good thing, because you're right, that just regular alarm going off, it's so easy to punch the snooze, but something
work.
Something like the Lion King, that's great. I love that. Especially now, you can put whatever you want on your cell phone, and
definitely.
If something makes you want to move in the morning, that's all the better.
Yes.
So you were talking about commitment and accountability. I know you kind of focus on like 3 pillars where accountability is one. What are the other pillars to
the program?
Yeah.
So the other pieces of the program are really just figuring out, one, why we want something, and 2, really building good, healthy habits all around. That starts with movement, is obviously something we're all talking. We talk about all the time. Is what are we setting our movement to? We talk a lot about mental health, how to reduce stress, what we can do. Oftentimes we're always trying to do, but a lot of times I challenge my clients. It's not necessarily about putting more on your plate. We start by seeing what we can take off our plate. We always think to get something new, to get a different result, we have to add something. I would challenge a lot of people to start by taking something off. You start by taking something off your plate. Guess what? Everything on your plate gets more attention, more focus, and more energy. So there are things that we're doing right now that we shouldn't be doing. And that's almost better to start than adding something in. So when it comes to new habits, oftentimes I say, like, what's the one thing you're doing that you know you shouldn't be doing? Let's start with that first. Before we add something, let's take that off. And then when it comes to new habits, we add them in like juggling. And what I mean by that is we're not going to hand you 5 new habits, because most people can't juggle 5 balls. I'm going to hand you one new habit. I'm going to hand you one new habit, and we're going to stick with that until you can do it while I can talk over here and almost brush my teeth at the same time. We're going to juggle just the one ball. We're not going to add the second one in until you can almost do now both of them without even thinking about it. It's not going to take away the first ball. It's going to just add to that second one. And we'll do that throughout the 90 days. And it's not about how many new habits we can add in. A lot of people think like, well, if I can get to 7 new habits, I'm better. No, you'd be better doing one really consistently than 7 kind of half on, half off. I'd rather people just focus on that. And what they happen, you realize if you just added one new habit, Michelle, every month, over the course of a month, that's 12 habits. That's a ton. So don't rush the process, everyone. We try to rush and get them all in at once, but that's why a lot of people come end of February feel like they're unsuccessful, because we probably started with 7 and now we're down to 2 and we don't feel successful. But really, if we just would have started with 2, we'd feel really successful. So It's not this all or nothing mentality.
Yeah, I like what you said too, Brett, about kind of clearing something off your plate, like just taking a first look and think through, is there something that you can take off that's not serving you? It's not really getting you what you want. And because I think a lot of people make the excuse, I don't have time, right? And maybe by clearing something off their plate, there might be a little more time. And also time, some of this, I'm assuming some parts of it being consistent. If you really don't have time, you could probably just start working in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It's not like you have to start with an hour of a new habit.
You're so right about that a lot of times people say, I don't have time, or we don't really find time. We create time. And how do you create time is you have to, at some point, that's what we do when we start. We kind of evaluate everybody's like life balance wheel, we call it. Like, what are all the areas of our life? What are we doing? And where are we ranking ourselves in each category? And where is the biggest area of opportunity? That's a good place to start. But when you talk about finding time, we're choosing where we're putting our time. And the accountability piece is, I really challenge people to take ownership over everything. Take ownership over the good stuff in your life. But also, let's take ownership over the bad stuff in our life. Take over ownership of the stuff that we're complaining about. Take ownership over the stuff that's happening to us, and start saying, no, I'm allowing it to happen to us. We always have way more control and way more decision over that stuff than we think we do. So we start there with like crazy ownership, extreme ownership over their life. And then at that point, they realize, okay, it's not that I don't have time to exercise or don't have time for self-care. I'm choosing not to make that a priority. And that kind of stings for a lot of people. Word it that way, and all of a sudden it's like, ooh, I don't like the way that sounds, but it's truthful. So let's decide to create time for our health and wellness and self-care. And that may mean that we have to pull something else off. I've had people like volunteering at the board to some like HOA or homeowners association that they don't like doing. They don't really want to be there. They hate the meeting. Like, that's a great thing to take off. Like, let's take off the things that aren't inspiring, that aren't serving you, that aren't fulfilling your cup, and take some of those things off. So just that alone, you're so right, Michelle, it would be a phenomenal place for people to start.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. So Brett, tell us a little bit. I know you in session. So talk to us a little bit of what that looks like.
Say that one more time. I'm sorry, you cut out for a second.
Oh, yeah. So you've got this 90-day coaching session up. I know you do a lot of one-on-one coaching, but you have this 90-day, it's a group session coming up. Tell us a little bit what that looks like.
Yeah, so we attract really, really high quality people. And what makes a high quality person? Somebody who wants to improve their life. And I always like to point out, it's not people who have their whole life is in shambles. It's people who are like usually doing really well at things, but they know that there's an area for improvement. They know that maybe they're really successful, but they want to find the fulfillment piece and attach like that love and passion to it. Maybe they're really successful and they realize that the health has kind of been on the back burner for a little bit. So it's attracting those kind of people who, it's called the Better You Blueprint. It's not called the Perfect You Blueprint. It's called the Better You. So we're looking to get better in certain areas of our life, but we also try to really emphasize people's strengths. So if you are really task oriented, let's set some tasks for you. If you are really passion driven, then we really have to dive deep on the why and get the passion out of you. So we bring these people around, and everybody has some sort of fitness goal, but some people have other goals in other areas of their life too, but they always coincide and they mesh really well. And the last thing I look for people is you got to be a good teammate. You know, I grew up playing sports my whole life. I love team sports, and I believe that a rising tide raises all ships. That's a line that we use all the time. So if somebody sees results, we all up level our game. So I like to really recruit and find people for the program, and I welcome people to the program who are going to be good teammates, who know that it's not just about committing to yourself. It's not just about committing to me, but it's also about committing to the team. We're going to be a good teammate. We're going to show up. We're going to support. We're going to encourage. We're definitely going to celebrate each other's wins. So it's just a great place for people to, one, discover a lot about themselves. That's probably the biggest feedback I get is, you know, I'm seeing results. I'm really enjoying this, but I'm learning so much about myself and what I love and what I want to do and the passion and the fulfillment in my life and how to get more of it. So that's really where that's what the 90 days is all about, is discovering. We have modules that people learn. We have a group coaching call every week. There's just a lot of collaboration. I think a lot of people think coaching is like me just telling everybody what to do. It's not. It is a full collaboration. I ask more questions than I give answers, and I want people to discover things on their own about their self and where they want to go.
Awesome. So this group coaching, I love that whole idea of teamwork, and I so agree that as people have those wins and that high, they share that, and the energy increases for everyone and elevates everyone. So as they come into this program, it's all virtual, and
Yes.
you meet weekly. You mentioned like a weekly coaching call, or
Yeah, we have a weekly coaching call. We also have guest coaches that come in. So I have some friends that are also coaches that are experts in their field, and they know that, maybe it's nutrition and they know it a little bit better than I do, and I bring them in. So we have guest coaches come in throughout as well. We also have a Facebook community where we live, and that allows us to share a lot of things throughout the week, and we celebrate wins, everything, birthdays. One thing I want to point out about the celebration, you talk about celebrating each other's wins. A lot of times we're not comfortable celebrating the small thing. Example, somebody wants to lose 10 pounds, they lose 2. They don't feel comfortable celebrating 2 because in their mind, I still have 8 to go. But why I strongly encourage people to find places that they can celebrate, find people that they can celebrate with, is because if we don't celebrate the small wins, we often never get the opportunity to celebrate the big wins. And I want to say that again for everybody. If you don't celebrate the small wins, oftentimes we don't get the opportunity to celebrate the big wins. Celebrating the small wins makes us want to do it again. It makes us proud. It makes us feel accomplished. It makes us feel like the effort and the hard work that we put in was for something. So celebrate the small wins along the way, and you're going to be so much more encouraged and motivated to keep going and do it again.
that is so important. I know, me included, like, I never felt like celebrating a small win. And something I've really reflected on this whole past year is just celebrating small wins and allowing that. And it's great. And
Yes.
it should become a habit for each of us. Just take a moment to reflect even once a week. And what did I do? What can I celebrate? And give yourself a pat on the back and be happy about it.
And it doesn't have to be something big. It can be a step in the right direction. And a lot of times in the beginning, it's uncomfortable for people to be like, I don't really have any big one. I'm like, yes, you do. And we're going to all wait here until you come up with one, because you have to be okay with coming up with one. It's not that nothing happened. It could be you had a great conversation. It could be that you got to see some family. It could be some kind of win, just something that makes you proud and makes you feel like you want to celebrate it. And we have to get more comfortable doing that as a society, because we're so worried that my win is going to make you feel bad about yourself. And it can't be that way, because in turn, what we're doing is we're sacrificing your feelings for our own. And that's not healthy either. We need to make sure that we're putting ourselves first. And that's part of self-care. Part of self-care is acknowledge the work that you're doing, acknowledge the progress you've made. And I love the progress, not perfection. So we're not going to just celebrate when we cross the finish line. We're going to celebrate every step along the way. If we're taking steps in the right direction, we're going to celebrate every single one of those steps.
I think that is so important. And you're right. As a society, we haven't really learned that well. And so the more that we can do that and practice that, I think that's awesome. So, Brett, I'm going to pull up your website here and let people know that more information will be coming on this 90-day Better You blueprint. So if they want to go things, I know you have like a freebie out there. You want to tell us what they might find?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have one out there kind of on the goal setting process. It's kind of the three parts of the goal setting process that a lot of people miss. It's kind of like the holes in the goal setting process that a lot of people mess up. I have that on there. It's under freebies and offers. It's a three-part video series, kind of walks you through those three parts a little bit more in depth on how to set good goals. And it's funny because a lot of people set goals all the time and don't even realize that they're missing these three important pieces. So those are on there. And also I just put one up for those people who are really focused more on the nutrition side of things. I have an offer up there, very small, $9.99. And it's I walk through my entire kitchen and show you every cabinet, everything in my fridge. I show you everything that I eat and why I buy certain products over certain others. And then also there's a print out there that you can get. Also, that could double as a shopping list. So when you can go shopping, you've already seen everything that I buy and why I buy it to stay healthy and different alternatives. And now you can go right to the store and pick up the things that you want to. So a couple different offers out there for people trying to get started and who want to start to kind of learn on their own. Those are two great ways, and then obviously if they're interested in the Better You Blueprint, we have a wait list going right now for the first people to get notified when we launch it. We set that date, but that'll be in early April for people who are interested. But I'm already doing calls with people who are interested. We're getting people ready because those will probably go pretty quick.
All right, great. I'm very intrigued. I might have to check that out and see what's all in your kitchen and in your cupboards.
Absolutely.
This in comments after we're done here. But as we wrap up, Brett, is there any final words that you have for our audience?
Yeah, I'll leave people with this. And I think at this point in time in the year, we talked about, where people are in the year. And a lot of times people feel defeated because they have to start over. And I always like to encourage people that most times we don't have to start over. We just have to kind of get back on track a little bit. It's almost like if you're driving and you stop at the rest stop, it doesn't mean you have to go back to the beginning. This isn't Monopoly, like go back to go and like don't collect $200. This is like you just have to get right back on track. So all you have to do is take where you are, figure out what needs to change. And we talk, I had this little thing called the 3 Re's. People either need to recalibrate, meaning figure out where they are. Okay, maybe I miscalculated my goal or I wasn't specific. Let's recalibrate that. Or they need to refocus, meaning, okay, I got really distracted with a lot of things going on and I lost focus on the one most important goal that I'm setting. Let's focus on that. Or they just need to recommit. And recommit means that they need to just double back down on their commitment and say like, okay, I was gung-ho about this in the beginning. I was super ready to go and all in. And now I've kind of let myself go a little bit. And when I say go, I've let myself off the hook. I stopped following through with the small promises and commitments. So they got to recommit. So recalibrate, refocus, recommit. We do not have to start over. Just get yourself back one step at a time. Start tomorrow. Never miss that Monday. One of my all-time great sayings, never miss that Monday and just get yourself right back on track. You realize you do not have to start over. You never needed to. Just get right back on track. You'll be ready to go.
That's some great advice. I love your 3 R's. So thank you for those final words. And Brett, thanks so much for coming on the show again and sharing some tips with us, how to think about our goals, how to be accountable, and just what we should be doing and that we should be celebrating a little bit. But thank you again for being here. Thank you all for watching the show. And just a reminder that I'm here every Sunday night at 7:30 Eastern to bring you some health and wellness tips. So see you again next Sunday night. Good night.
Take care.